So welcome back to the channel, guys. So I know what you're saying, Ben, why we're not out in the M135i?
69 miles and she's rod knocking.
Ben, why are you resting on an M55 M135i engine? So I think I've come up with a formula of why these cars keep blowing up. The MX-5, this car. So we've got up to whiteboard, we'll find out what went on there.
So if we do a bit of garage maths here, and we take Joe, and then we add some nice sounds from the M135i, then we equalise that out, and then get the blown up engine. So we take Joe, we take some good sounds from the MX-5 engine, and then we end up with another blown.
Right, so in today's video, we're going to take the M135i engine apart, see why it failed after 69 miles, and then in the next video, we'll be forging it, if the crank looks good. Fingers crossed. Right, let's get into the action.
It's really surprising how they managed to fit such a big engine in such a small car. Removing the engine is a lot more complex and fiddly task than we expected, even when you compare it to the Corsa XR or MX-5. I think this is due to the amount of wires and the size of the engine in the engine bay. Trying to get my sausage finger in some of the gaps is a nightmare. Remove the bolts from the sum.
Check out the tank. See if it's even worth bothering taking any of the ancillaries off.
So here's the engine out of the car. We've moved it back to the BF Garage HQ and put it up on the engine stand so we can strip it down. The SGS engine stand is holding the weight well, as this is a very heavy boy.
Right, so let's get a look in the old sump hole.
Yeah, still looks like an engine. I would call that mission success.
Once we've removed the windage tray, we'll be able to get a better look at the rods and see what is causing that knocking sound.
So,
Oh, she's engineer.
so that is why he fucked it.
And CC.
They'll better eat up shells, won't they?
The next job is to remove all the sundries from the engine, such as the rocker covers, injector pipes and the other random crap that will allow us to remove the head. Now we've got all that out of the way, the next job is to remove the coils and the wiring harness that feed the coil packs and injectors from across the top of the engine. This will allow us to remove the rocker cover. Now we've got all the wiring out of the way, let's see what's under that rocker cover. With the rocker cover off, the next job is to remove the injectors and the buckets that house the injectors and spark plugs. We need to remove these to be able to remove the head bolts. With the buckets removed, we now have access to remove all of the bolts holding the head onto the cylinder blocks. These bolts were super tight. The big Milwaukee impact wrench was having no luck removing them, so we had to pull out the breaker bar to crack them off. Initially I thought we'd be able to remove the head with the inlet manifold and turbo still attached. This is just to make it easier when we come to rebuild the engine. But the inlet has a lot of pipes and wires that go around the back that were difficult to fish out. So we remove the inlet manifold, but we do keep the turbo attached as Joe has a habit of stripping the holes where the manifold studs live. Now we need to remove the oil solenoids from the front of the engine to allow the chain to pass out of the head. I think they're probably something to do with the Vanos, but who knows, I work in IT after all. Now using a pry bar tool, we can release the head from the block and pull it off. Just standing it on some pieces of wood stop any damage to the bottom.
The pistons look average. There's no scoring on the barrels, really. It's a little hole.
There's a little dingleberry in there.
Pistons are all looking average. What time is it?
The next job is to remove the ancillary belt. This will allow us to take the alternator and the AC compressor off the engine, making it easy to take off the belly plate. With the AC pump off now, we'll be able to flip over the engine to get access to the oil pump, remove the pistons and rods. With the oil pump off, now it's time to remove the pistons and rods from the engine. The pistons look like they're in really good condition, with slight wear to the sides, as expected for a 90,000 mile engine. The ring lands look fine. Once I've had a clean up and some fresh piston rings, they'll be good to go. The rods on the other hand have a lot of damage from the heat build up when they spun a bearing, so they'll be replaced with some forged rods.
Slightly warm, but it's a high mile.
We've been around the block a couple of times.
Yeah, but it's not too bad to be honest. They're not
Still some cutting on it.
Yes, they haven't been slapping the sausages off yet.
I'm never said I'm going to buy. I'm over 7 grand in this car. That's probably get bogged down. Right, that one. What I'm saying? Coffee rod. Hey! Oh, that's the one that broke down bad, isn't it? That's the one that's been spitting material out.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Now then, right.
So we've got very good bit of wear on them. Actual piece is missing.
That might be it.
Falling off edge there.
Which pistons are English?
Now we'll remove the belly plate from the block. This will allow us access to the crankshaft. What we didn't unfortunately know at this point is we needed to remove the bolt from the front of the crank before doing any of this. This will bite us in the arse later on. Now the belly plate just lifts up and off. With the belly plate removed, we can now remove the crank from the block. At this point, we realised that earlier on we should have removed the crank bolt. We've tried heat, we tried the impact, nothing would move the bolt, so we'll leave that for the machine shop. So here's the engine teared down. I've got the block up on the engine stand. Everything's looking good. We'll just give that a slight hone just to bring some cross-hatching back. The pistons are on the floor. We'll give them a clean up, remove the rods and ring. The crank will be sent off this week to the machine shop for a regrind.
If you're watching all the videos, like, share, subscribe, ring that bell.